All right, people, I need a go, no-go for the Geek News Central podcast. Digital archive recorders.
We're go fly.
Microphone.
We're go fly.
Video feed.
Go.
Web browser.
Go.
RSS data stream aggregator.
Go fly.
Interflux Toddism suppressor.
All right, I'm confused.
Host readiness check.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
The Geek News Central podcast is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to go. Cue Todd in
5,
Button, who's got the button?
4,
There is no cause for alarm.
3,
Everybody hold on to something.
2,
Just press the button.
1.
Welcome to episode 1150 of the Geek News Central podcast. It's Thursday, September 29th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Support the show today by becoming an insider at geeknewscentral.com/insider or just paypal.me/geeknews. You can always pick up Ohana gear at cafepress.com/Ohana store. In today's show, we're going to be talking about Off to Mars, hacking a Tesla, more Google surprises, and we're going to talk about Rosetta's crash landing that may be happening just about now. So I want to give a warm welcome to all the new listeners to the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking the show out for the very, very first time. For those of you that are old souls or longtime members of the Ohana, thank you for being here as well. Of course, Ohana in Hawaiian means family. This show is recorded out of my studio here in Honolulu, Hawaii, and it's done every Monday and Thursday night, with the show being released every Tuesday and Friday morning. Since you're brand new, some of you are brand new, we want you to make sure you get over to geeknewscentral.com, and when you're over on the website, just get subscribed to the show. It's real easy. On the website, there's about a half dozen ways for you to get hooked up. And whether it be via iTunes, whether it be one of the 13 apps that are supported by one-click subscribe on Android, via email, yes, you can get this podcast old school by email, or on Google Play, or on Stitcher, and TuneIn, or via standard RSS feed, real simple syndication feed that you can use with any podcatcher. If you don't know what any of this means, you have no clue what the heck I'm talking about, just click on the more subscribe options. We give you some instructions there on what to do to get subscribed to the show. And that's really the gist of how you get hooked up. You can get signed up for the newsletter on the website as well. That link is there. But more importantly, I want you to visit Geek News Central nearly on a daily basis. My writing team has been pretty busy. Near the end of the month, sometimes it gets a little bit slow. They'll be hot at it here in a couple of days. But if you got comments on today's show, geeknews@gmail.com. If you want to reach me on Twitter, you can do so at Geek News. Of course, you can follow me and the whole team and hang out with the team by sending an email to geeknews@gmail.com and hanging out with the Slack channel. That's a chat channel we've set up. You don't have to hang out in there all the time, but check in every couple of days. I'm actually a little bit disappointed by the number of folks that have requested to be in the Slack channel. Maybe you guys think you've got enough access to me via Facebook and Twitter and everything else, but love to have you in there as part of the Ohana. Please consider a request to get invited. Of course, you can follow me on Google Plus or on Facebook just by searching for my name, Todd Cochran. Again, I want to welcome you to the show. You can watch this show on the Tech Podcast channel via the Roku, on the Apple TV. You can listen via the Amazon Echo by telling Alexa to play the latest edition of this show's name, which is the Geek News Central podcast. You can listen on Stitcher, you can watch or view on Blueberry.com. We don't want you to forget our partner shows. Got a great team of podcasters that are all connected and hooked up with Geek News Central. If I can flip the right screen here, they're, here we go. It's on the new media show. We got the Pro Gear site at progear.guru. We've got the Gadget Professor show. We've got Health Tech Weekly with Jamie Davis. We've got No Better Than Average with Jacob and Jeff. And, of course, my brand new show, the Podcast Legend shows. And there's a couple of interviews coming up. Got some real big names in podcasting, at least some of the original folks that were around that did some very, very cool things in the early day of podcasting. So we'll have episode 5 and episode 6 probably in the Well, we'll do one this week and one next, but I'll talk about my interview schedule over in a few minutes, but like you could really care, most of you. But anyway, this show is sponsored, of course, by our good friends at GoDaddy.com. GoDaddy's been here since July of 2005, bringing great deals to all of you. And the September promo codes are going to roll into the October promo codes. So the next time you're on the website, you'll see it's updated. But if you go to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy, you're going to be able to get hooked up and save money, whether it be a .com at 99 cents, whether it be 30% off a new product purchase, whether it be getting Website Builder with a 30-day free trial with some consulting from GoDaddy, or if it's just a $1 a month economy hosting or a $1 a month managed WordPress for the first 12 months. Both of those, a matter of fact, I think all the offers, the Website Builder, the economy hosting, and the managed WordPress hosting all come with a free domain. I do want to thank, I had a couple of listeners that actually tweeted that they had used the codes. Thanks for sharing the love when you do save money with GoDaddy. We definitely appreciate it when you do that. But geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy is the page to go to enable these savings. And, it's starting to, some of you are starting to get a little bit cooler where you are. Maybe the leaves are starting to turn just a little bit. So you got a little more inside time. So this is the time to think about a fall project, whether it be something for your honey, whether it be something for your kids, whether it be something for yourself, whether it is to start a podcast. Lots of opportunities. And all you got to do is be a little bit creative and think about it. And we want you to definitely check out all our offers that we have available at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. Okay, so let me go ahead here and what have I got in my short stack of stuff to talk about tonight before we get into the tech. Don't forget, we've got some money-saving offers from time to time on geeknewscentral.com/offers. That's a page we don't talk about very often on the show, but that is available for you to check out some of the offers. It includes like car rentals and that kind of stuff. So when you're getting ready to do trips, you can help throw us a bone by clicking on one of the links on that page. And what that really does is it helps the show tremendously. If you rent a car for a week and you use my promo code to do it, that's like contributing a whole year to the show at like the $12 level. So definitely consider that when you're picking up products and services that you normally would. Okay, so International Podcast Day is upon us. Matter of fact, the team from International Podcast Day, Steve Lee and Dave Lee, both launched the live stream at 12 noon Pacific today. They're going to be going through 30 hours, and I'm going to be on tomorrow, Friday the 30th at 8 p.m. Pacific. And I'll have information in the show notes today how you can join me for my presentation that I'm going to be doing. And then I come back a couple of hours later and I finish up the last hour with Steve as we wrap up International Podcast Day. So go over to internationalpodcastday.com, click on the schedule, and you can get over there and watch basically for the next 30 hours. Actually, where are we at now? Next 23 hours. You can watch 23 different presentations by podcasters from all around the world. I've got had a couple of people inquire about my assistant hiring. I posted on Facebook today as well. That got a couple more people that have actually applied. So I'm definitely going to be talking to the folks that have basically said they're interested in finding out what it entails. But again, and I'm not going to close this for a few days, but definitely looking for someone to help me with booking guests on both the New Media Show and Podcast Legends. I'm also looking for someone that help to do a little bit of show prep from time to time on Mondays and Thursdays, and then some just very odd jobs. And, it's essentially trying to take a little bit of load off me. The first few months, there's probably going to be more work than what is initially being planned, largely because I'm going to be starting planning for CES. I'm going to use that assistant for some of that help as well. So just keep you aware of that. So what this year and I guess that kind of leads into CES. This year for CES, I've decided to change things completely. And I think I talked about this a little bit on the show prior, but we are not doing a live broadcast studio. I'm not shipping 20 containers of stuff to Vegas, and it's a big job to do that show, and I'm the one that's booking every person that's going to be coming on, and it got to a point where I love doing the show. I love seeing the new stuff, but I found myself being more stuck in doing the business side and less doing the interview side. And that's really kind of not what I'm about. I'm about finding the cool stuff that's out there. And I hadn't even been able to get over to like the new startup area for the past couple of years. And that was really, to me, was, the best part of the whole show. So this year I'm going back, and I'm not saying I'm going solo, but I'm working with Don Bain, of course, and one of the other Tech Podcast Show members. I think there's at least 3 teams that are going to be there right now. And we're kind of, at this point, doing some, low-level planning. We do have a room to work out of. The CEA was nice enough to offer us up an actual room. It was a broadcast room on basically close to the show floor in North Hall that we can work out of and store gear, and really going to make logistics really nice for covering the show, and parking passes and the whole 9 yards. But I may be looking for one person, and what I'm kind of planning on is, because I haven't got so much expense, it was a $15,000 to $20,000 bill to do the show, food, hotel, and was happy to do it. It was a great, we had a great run. I think we did 6 years of live. Did stuff with MSNBC before and Fox, and it really was fantastic. So, but this year is going to be a much more relaxed. I'll still be booking some folks, be doing a couple hours a day in one location where people come to me, but probably going to be looking for maybe 2 people to help out. I think I've got the camera person, maybe not. Needed some. I'm going to really be honest with you. This show's a butt kicker because you're doing a lot of walking and carrying all that gear. You get back to the hotel and you just face plant. So this year, I'm going to hire someone a little young, that has the stamina to carry the camera gear. And then I may be looking for one additional person to kind of help with just like the admin, the logistics as we're moving around. And haven't reached out to cameraman Jack. And Jack, I don't want you carrying camera this year or anything like that. And I don't know if you're interested in coming out. But we might be looking for one more person as an assistant. I haven't fully decided that yet. And I'm really kind of open to it. So if there's anyone in the audience that has stamina to be able to work 12 and 14-hour days. I mean, this is serious, maybe even 16-hour days, and would like to consider going to CES and kind of being like a right-hand assistant and just doing a lot of administrative stuff while we're, and, it might be carrying an extra battery or 2 or to that effect. Let me know. And I haven't completely fleshed this out, and I just started working on the CES planning really last couple of days. Been thinking about it and what it is logistically I'm going to need to do what I need to do at the show. What I'm really, if you live in Vegas, it's even better. That way I don't have to pay for a bunch of airfare for you to come in and housing. So even if you guys know someone in Vegas that might be a good fit, or have a contact at a college, or hire someone local, it might work out really, really well. But anyway, that's That's kind of in my initial thought process. But if you've got a hankering to go to CES and you've never been, let me know, and we'll see what we can do, okay? All right. I think that's it from my just little write-up stack here, but multiple interviews, and they're going to be hot and heavy because I'm behind on doing interviews for Podcast Legends. So I got a bunch booked up. We're going to be doing a number of them over the next couple of days. And so lots going on here, staying busy. I am going to be in the studio all next week. Looks like the travel may have shifted a little bit, but we'll be with you for 2 shows next week as instead of being on the go. So that's good. You'll have me here for 2 episodes, and then, you'll have me here no matter what, but all depends on the flight schedule and everything else, or what I may have to do. May have to have a guest come in, but all right, that's going to wrap me here for chitter chatter of all the stuff that I had to share with you guys. And let me close out this stuff so that we have this all wrapped up so I can get into the regular tech stuff. Okay. I think I should have posted this. Let me put this up. Give me a second here. I'm being naughty. I'm sending out a tweet right now. I should have sent it out a little bit earlier because we're already through the fun stuff, right? The Ohana stuff at the beginning of the show. But all right, the tweet's out, so anyone that's awake will know that we're live. And let me load this up. I want to talk first of all tonight about. I knew that it was going to die. My son's on the other internet connection. I forgot to tell him, so the live stream folks are down. But I think we're good for Facebook and YouTube. Okay, so I should have told him. Let me make sure everything's good with YouTube. Yep, we're good. Hey, we had a bunch of people on YouTube too, so everyone, thanks for being over here. All right, so what I want to start out talking about is Mars. Talked a little bit about it on the last show, and some discussion has been brought up about Mars. And one of the discussion points was what Elon Musk has planned. The question's been asked, is it even legal? Is it even legal for him to plan to go to Mars and leave, 80 to 100 people there to, probably die? Is it even legal for him to do that? And does international law allow it? What's the what's the rules, if there are any? And you think about this a little bit. And I read a lot of science fiction. They've never covered, in any science fiction book I've never read, and I'll be here to tell you, I read a lot of science fiction. There's never been a science fiction book that I've read that talks about the legal consequences of some private firm planning a mission to Mars or to anywhere else for that matter. Of course, most science fiction books we have, faster than light travel and all that stuff. That's why they call it science fiction. But so this question's being raised now because, he's planning on building an express train to Mars. And there's a lot of questions about really how this is going to work. And how they're going to sustain the people that are there. And, they're talking about a $200,000 ticket. Well, that seems pretty cheap, on the front end. Not to, if someone was really set on wanting to go to Mars, $200,000, I think people with homes and, they'd sell off all their assets to raise the cash, and, a lot of people would be able to do it. But what happens when you get there, when you run out of food? Who's bringing the resupply mission? How much does that cost? How do you set up enough viability, survivability shelters to, to feed yourself? Well, to even get there, first of all, you've got to get the FAA to provide you a license to get to orbit. And also, what comes back down is basically jurisdiction under the FAA. But as soon as you get ready, as soon as you get in orbit or heading to another celestial body, the rules get a little bit fuzzy here. At the moment, there's no legal rules for on-orbit activities. Right now, any U.S. company wishing to do something in space, again, has to be authorized by the appropriate federal agency to get there. For instance, last month, the Google Lunar X Prize contender did get a license to go to the moon. And at the time, the approval was met with a lot of victory hoops for the commercial space industry. But the FAA made it clear that they were not setting any precedents in other companies wanting to go somewhere, including the moon. So getting this payload authorization is not the same as being licensed to conduct the activity once you've landed. If you want to rover on the surface, drill precious metals, send a message back to Earth, and build a self-sustaining city, you're going to need other licenses. You know, most people are going to be like, to the federal government, right? We're going to get to space. We're going to go there. We're going to go with, they're going to flip the bird. You can't stop us from going to Mars. And I think ultimately probably they'll have a very hard time stopping a freight train of people wanting to go. They may. Elon Musk has already said that this trip is one way. It is going to be very, very hard for anyone that goes to get back. And that's even a piece that's covered in Ars Technica. Talking about going to Mars is relatively easy, and getting back is pretty tricky. You got to get on the ground. You got to get, first of all, you need enough fuel energy to get you back into orbit, and then meet up with whatever rocket or whatever spacecraft is waiting for you. Then another burn to, escape Mars gravity, and it's not 100% easy to do that. Getting there, not bad. And there's some methane and some raw materials on Mars that potentially could provide sustainability. There might be some ice and stuff like that they could, have water. But for the most part, for the significant amount of time, unless they pre-position a lot of stuff at Mars, there's going to need to be regular supply loads bringing in food, water, everything else that they're going to need, clothes, medicine, body bags, to be able to support any type of even small. You think about talking about bringing 80 to 100 people to Mars. You know how much food they eat. Not only that, waste materials that go along with humans and trash and everything else. It's not like you're going to Earth 2. You walk outside without a pressurized spacesuit on, you're dead. So lots of, it's not going to be easy. So I think if we ever see this in our lifetimes, they want to make it by 2020 or 2022 or whatever the date is that they kind of announced going to Mars. I think there's going to have to be some acceptance that the people are going that initially go are going to die. It's not in our nature, obviously, but will the U.S. government allow SpaceX to send people to Mars knowing that they're going to die? Now, what if the United States says, we're not going to let you launch? What happens if Elon goes to China, or he goes to another country, puts a lot of cash in their hand and builds a launch facility on a different foreign government soil and says, screw you, we're going anyway? It's going to be interesting to watch the politics on this, for sure, and the resistance of the U.S. government to allow SpaceX to send 80 people to potentially to Mars to potentially die. So there is a bill called the American Space Renaissance Act, which was introduced to Congress last spring, that could start to fill many of the regulatory gaps surrounding robotic commercial activity in space. But Musk's plan to start sending colonists to Mars in the coming decades raises major legal, not to mention ethical questions. Would you go? Would any of the Ohana get on if you had the $200K, if you had the $200,000, right? And let's say this was happening now, not in 2020. But if you think about that, 2020 is like soon. And there's no way they're going to be ready by 2020. But anyway, let's say that you got the money and you get a one-way ticket to Mars. Would you go? No, let's say that you are going to get 120. You have survivability for at least 120 days. Let's just use that as the keystone mark. Would you spend the $200K to spend 120 days on Mars? I'm not sure how many people would. A lot of people say, "Yeah, I'll go." And I'm sure there'll be a lot of them. What kind of psych profile are they going to have to do on those that know that they're probably going to end up dead on this mission? How many would go? Because they're going to, you just can't send anyone up there. These folks are going to be, in other words, cooped up together, and then you got to rely on them for your survivability. So the people that are going to go are going to have to be smart. They're going to have some skills to offer to the community to help sustain survivability. But if you had the money, would you go? geeknews@gmail.com. I really want to hear from all of you. Think about that for a second. You could, and of course, everyone's family situation is different. I wouldn't go. I'd go into orbit, but I'm not leaving my kids and, potential for grandchildren down the road. And no way, Jose, am I going? But every person's family situation is obviously very different. Maybe no family. So maybe there's, no ties to keep you here. I think, I being a big sci-fi fan, I was probably born 500 years too early. I'm fascinated about the potential of where we can be and where we could be, in 500 years from a technology standpoint. If we don't kill ourselves first, if we make it another 500 years, what the potential is, where, it's really exciting. But, who knows? Maybe by the time I'm they're ready to pull the plug on me from a life sustainability, maybe they'll be able to, store my DNA and clone me or something. Who knows? But I don't know if we're going to get there before I'm 7 foot under. But anyway, it's an interesting thought. Yeah. All right, HP. Let's move off the doom and gloom, and let's go into talk about HP. Well, HP is backtracking on its firmware update that recently blocked some printers from using third-party ink cartridges. And so HP's CEO has said we're going to reissue a new update to turn off the DRM. I guess they got enough feedback that they made the change. All right, last week I missed this article. It came out on the 20th, and I just don't know how I missed this. And if you heard it somewhere else, I'm sorry, but I was like, wowza, when I heard this. Tesla's considered one of the most cybersecurity conscious manufacturers in the world, but researchers from a Chinese technology company, Tencent, found a series of vulnerabilities that, when combined, allowed them to remotely take over a Tesla Model S car and control its sunroof, central display, door locks, and even the braking system. The attack allowed the researchers to access the car's controller area network, CAN bus, which lets the vehicle's specialized computer communicate with each other. As far as it's known, this is the first case of a remote attack which compromises what's called the CAN bus to achieve remote control of Tesla cars. The researchers from Tencent's Keen Security Lab said, "We have verified the attack vector on multiple varieties of Tesla Model S. It's reasonable to assume that other Tesla models are affected." So the Chinese hacked a Tesla. So we're going to get to a point, as our cars get smarter, that they're going to have to really put some time into some security stuff, because someone could get really naughty, and if they can hack one vehicle, they can hack more. And with vehicles being connected and everything else, if there are not good firewalls built in these vehicles, there's going to be, it's if someone of prestige is driving a vehicle that is an autonomous vehicle down the road, they don't have to go and put a hit out on them. You just wreck their car. Remote control. This could get very, very serious, or someone just being malicious and see if they can cause trouble. My goodness, you think of all the things that are going on in the world today, this would not be surprising to us. So we've got to get to a point where we're going to have vehicles that are secure. An Israeli startup says that its new software, and this is how I found the article originally about this Tesla hack, would have prevented the Tesla hack. Karamba, Karamba, and it's probably not pronounced that because of all these companies coming out of Israel have spelling it sounds one way, but it's actually pronounced another. But Karamba, who has raised a $2.5 million in Series A1 round, said that their new product for securing electronic control units, ECUs, of connected self-driving vehicles could have prevented the recent Tesla hack. So here you've got a company that is developing something called a Carwell software, and it uses a vehicle's factory setting software to discover non-compliant code in a car's ECU and automatically create security policies in real time to block the code. So you're going to start seeing now companies are going to be coming up, and that's going to be their job. Just if you really think about it, we buy antivirus. Well, Windows users do malware and antivirus software. We pay a subscription for that. If you're not doing that on your Mac, good luck, because at some point you're going to get hacked and you're going to cry, but it's going to happen. So at some point, I'm sure we're all going to be wanting to buy antivirus, malware, and firewall protection for our vehicle. And it is what's going to happen are these car manufacturers going to open up those platforms and allow companies to come in and, like this startup, allow us to buy software to prevent intrusion? Or will these companies get with the OEM directly and lock them down? As a vehicle owner, I think I want the option to be able to have a third-party company protecting the infrastructure, the IP infrastructure of my vehicle. Whether or not that will happen is yet to be seen. But we know that modern cars have really lots of computer and sensor inputs. And there's as much as 100 million lines of code for in these vehicles. So and code has bugs, and bugs can be exploited, and then you have vehicles being taken control of. So the vehicles are getting smart. Right now on my car, I got two sensors that are driving me crazy. My blind spot monitor system is being half fritzy, and was driving home the other night, and I got a low pressure tire sensor. Got home, checked all the tire pressures in my vehicle. Everything's good. So I've got two sensors that have went haywire in my car, and you know what that's going to cost? That's going to be like a $2,000 trip to the Mazda dealer, right? None of these things that are monitored are cheap. But yet, do I want these yellow indicators on my vehicle? No. And the blind spot monitors, a safety thing too. So I have to get it fixed. And I'm sure they're going to love to see me drive in. It's just going to continue to increase over time, the type of monitors in the vehicle and what can be turned on, turned off by a hacker. I'm switching up here completely on topics. We're moving from tech to drug resistance bacteria. We talked about in the last show that there are strains now of gonorrhea that are becoming extremely drug resistant. And there's going to come a time where there may not be a treatment for some of the stuff that's out there in the wild. Well, the scientists are trying to figure out ways to trick this bacteria to basically allow medicine vectors through. And what they've basically been finding is that sometimes you can treat with a non-related medicine to cause the bacteria to do a reaction that allows the original medicine to work. They've been doing some tests and using some of the penicillin or psyllin type medicines to basically treat things that haven't been able to be treated to this point. Now let me check and see why this phone's going crazy. My wife is oh, that wasn't her. All right, so I've upgraded to iOS 10. I'm so with iOS 10 so far. I've only had it for less than 24 hours, but I notice the notifications are a little bit more aggressive in that. But anyway, with this, they basically tricked the bacteria to do one thing that allowed the medical vector in another way, and they were looking at an E. coli bacteria that was they're having trouble treating. So at least I'll have this link up in the show notes. So scientists are trying to get smart on how to beat some of this stuff that's going to kill us or make us very sick. So one thing I did notice, and I basically was tested this right away, as I sent an iMessage today, and it's got those new I don't know what you want to call them, but favicons, or it's got graphics that you can send with a text message. So it's cute. I don't know how much I'll use it. I'm sure the kiddies are going to love it. But you can send an iMessage effect now. And actually, Apple put out a cutesy little iPhone 7 balloons advertisement. I'll have up the link in the show notes. If I hadn't seen the tech write-up about the advertisement, I'd have been like, why are they showing me a advertisement of balloons? It really didn't make a lot of sense. For those of you that have upgraded to iPhone 7, there's a Kickstarter out there. They're developing a $10 dongle that lets you charge your phone and listen to music. And using a standard iPhone headset. I mean, not a headset, standard 3/8 jack. So it's called ILDOCK, ILDOC. And they've got two varieties of this thing. It's pretty cheap Kickstarter, delivery in December. And if I had an iPhone 7, I'd be probably contributing to it. I might even just contribute to it just to get the adapter. So when I do go to the next version of iPhone, I have this available. But not a bad deal here. And they've already reached their funding goal with like 2 days in. And it's probably going to, grow considerably. Also, they are going to give you an ILDoc Plus for like $27 as you contribute to the Kickstarter. And actually, let me show you guys the image of it here, those of you that are watching. It basically will allow you to stick an SD card and offload stuff from your iPhone onto an SD card, which I thought was pretty cool. Is this thing going to load? Oh, man, it's low and slow. Here we go. Let me bring it up for you. This is over on ubergizmo.com. But again, it's called the ILDoc. And it's for the... What is this? Am I going to get an advertisement now? Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen. That is irritating. When the article loads, and then they load over the top, and they've got like 4 of them, 4 ads on top. I'm not running the ad blocker on Firefox. Insane. Uber Gizmo, I guess you guys are broke, huh? You need to run 3 pop-ups on for me. Jeez. But anyway, that's available via Kickstarter. All right, the FCC needs more time to make its set-top box rules a reality. This is just ridiculous. Technical and legal issues are supposedly holding up the plan to unlock the box. And a scheduled vote on the new rules has been delayed indefinitely. I think this means that they've been beat. This is not a good day. Folks at Engadget says, so the delay does not spell doom for our dreams of a cleaner home entertainment system, one free from tyranny of clunky cable box interfaces. We'll just have to wait a little longer to get there. The Commission notes that the proposal will remain under consideration while the commissioners work out these technical and legal issues. In other words, they got pushback from the manufacturers. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Not. All right, I did promise you at the beginning of the show talk just a little bit about the October 4th Google event. one thing that I did not cover, I don't believe, on the last show was a supposed Google Amazon Echo killer is going to be available. So we'll see if this is the deal. We already know about Andromeda, the operating system. We already know about the Nexus computer/phone and all the other stuff that may be coming. So we'll see if this Google's Amazon Echo killer. I'm telling you, I love Amazon Echo and Alexa. Every night, get ready to go to bed. Alexa, play jazz for me. And Alexa will play jazz. I tell it to, stop playing in about 15 minutes because it's, that's time I've put my head on the pillow and to sleep in about 30 seconds. So it doesn't play all night. But I can, it's amazing. Get up in the morning. Alexa, tell me about the traffic. And it, tells me about the traffic. But anyway, we'll see what Google does here. In China, China's largest private investor group, China Minqing New Energy Investment Company, is developing a 2-gigawatt solar farm in the Ningxia region, which will be made up of some 6 million solar panels. A report from Bloomberg last week highlighted the massive solar project, which is being developed in phases by Chinese biggest private investor group. The solar project will eventually cover 4,607 hectares. How many acres? What is someone on Facebook? Do me a favor and do a conversion. What is an acre compared to a hectare? Hectares. What is that conversion? How many acres or how many hectares make up an acre? It gives a little bit of an idea how much space this thing's going to take up. But we'll see. About time China gets clean. It's so doggone dirty over there from a pollution standpoint. It's crazy. Okay. I'm not a big... Watching golf on television is about as exciting as watching paint dry. I know some of you are golf fans. Don't shoot me. I'm just, it's not my thing. And at the Ryder Cup, a heckler has become a hero. A man in the crowd was mocking Europe's professionals about a 12-foot putt that they kept on missing. And he was being pretty loud about it. And I guess when they finally made the putt, they were so annoyed with this dude, they called him out and brought him out on the green. And they put $100 down on the green and say, "Okay, big boy, you got such a big mouth. Why don't you take the 12-foot shot?" This guy come out and nailed it. He sunk it. And he said later, my mouth just about got the better part of me. He said, "I made a small prayer and swung the puck and made it." And the crowd went crazy. So maybe this guy should be putting for the American team. Who knows? But it was pretty doggone funny. Oh, so if you're a golf fan and you didn't see this, you got to see the video. All right. Okay. 1 acre equals 0.404 hectares. Thank you, Rita, for doing that. So that means a little over 2 acres is 1 hectare. So going back to that article, that's a lot. That's huge. That means like about 10,000 acres. Now let me give you guys let me see, how can I define 10,000 acres? A mile by a mile, I think a mile by a mile is like 640 acres. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty close. I'm remembering from like middle school time of doing this math before, and maybe Rita, maybe you can help me out again here. But that's a lot of land. But if you're going to put up 6 million solar panels, it would probably take up a little bit of land. Hey, California has tightened background checks on Uber and Lyft drivers. They're now going to be required to give their drivers a stricter background check. Governor Jerry Brown signed legislation on Wednesday forbidding ride-hailing companies from hiring drivers with any violent a felony conviction. Previous background checks went back just 7 years. News of assaults by ride-hailing drivers has been a frequent occurrence, so they've, at least in California, they're putting the hammer down and making them go back. Oh, 640 acres is a mile by mile. I was pretty close, wasn't I? Also grasshopper. I swear I just remember that somehow. But anyway, I love it. 6 million. So that's a lot of land, but China's pretty big. You know, there's some people out here in the world that are doing some stupid tricks to try to get exposure. There's this YouTuber user called Tech Racks, and of course I'm talking about him. He posted a parody tutorial on how to drill a headphone jack into an iPhone 7. Well, that video has racked up 13 million views, and I'm sure a lot of people have ruined some iPhones. But he's going to need a pile of that revenue share money to continue posting more absurd Apple torture videos. He took an i7 to the observation deck of the 148th floor in Burj Khalifa in Dubai. That's the tallest building in the world, 2,722 feet. And took it to the observation deck and threw the phone off. Now, it'd have been really cool if he could have found the phone, but all it is a video of them throwing a phone from the observation deck and then him apologizing because they couldn't find the phone. Why? I watched it. I can't get those 2 minutes and 45 seconds back. I'll spare you the agony. Don't go watch it. All right, Amazon Alexa Prize is offering $2.5 million to get voice assistant chatting. The company wants to make Alexa smart enough to talk with a real person for 20 minutes, and it hopes its clever students can help. So basically, they've offered this challenge for college students who develop technology to make Alexa more natural to talk to. I must admit, sometimes Alexa pisses me off because I'll say something to her. The box. I'm implying that this is an entity. It's not. It's just software. But, it's fun to think we may have AI at some point that we can talk to. Well, the population will really decline when that happens. Because they'll make an AI for men and they'll make an AI for women, and men and women will never talk to each other ever again. But anyway, they're offering some prizes up to anyone that can code up and make Alexa smarter. So some computer science folks out there, I actually sent this article to my son, said, look at this. He said, cool. I was looking at it. So he's not quite at that point, but maybe some of his friends are. All right, NASA's outbound Sirius Rex asteroid sampler has snapped its first light images. So NASA's newest planetary probes, the Sirius Rex, is got a clean bill of health, and it's snapping some deep field images of stars and not a lot else out there. That's one thing about space. You take a long time to get from point A to point B. You better have lots of Netflix for that trip, or be able to go into a suspended state, because that is going to be the ultimate boring trip from point A to point B, knowing that you might die en route. But anyway. Hey, Rosetta is to finish its slow descent to the comet's surface, and I talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the show, for it's time for Europe's comet probe Rosetta to die at 4:48 Eastern. The spacecraft fired its thrusters for 208 seconds, setting Rosetta on course for a controlled descent to the surface of its comet on Friday morning. Oh, excuse me, at approximately 7:02 a.m. Eastern. So, anyway. It's been out there for a while. Maybe we'll get to see some video at some point. Who knows? But they're trying to make it touch down very softly. So we'll see if it makes it. My phone in the house is ringing off the hook, and no one's answering it. So we got the newspaper people. We used to get the Star Advertiser, and I would just get the digital version. But they don't sell the digital version. You have to get the newspaper with it. My wife likes the Sunday paper. Well, the Sunday paper turned to crap, too, so we canceled the newspaper. They're calling, like, their telemarketing people are very persistent. They don't know the word no, go away, hanging up on them. They're not getting a clue. So I'm sure it's Star Advertiser calling the house, trying to get us to renew our $8.95 paper subscription again. They're not going to do it. They're not do it. Done, done, done. All right. There's an article over on privateinternetaccess.com talking about police routinely misusing state and federal databases to stalk romantic interests, business partners, family, and even each other. So there's a study out that shows that a lot of people in law enforcement are misusing confidential databases and have been doing it for a long time, and very, very rarely do they get reprimanded for doing so. So in one instance, a Florida highway trooper, Donna Watts, filed a lawsuit alleging that several Miami-Dade police officers used their online access to state databases to find her address and harass her in retaliation of arresting a Miami-Dade officer for speeding. Across the country, Minnesota, an officer was awarded over $1 million in settlement from taxpayers' money after filing a lawsuit against several agencies for snooping on her driver's license information. So not only are police officers spying on police officers, but again, police officers are spying on potential girlfriends and so forth, and doing stuff with that data they shouldn't be. So just goes to show you, people like to snoop a lot. All right, this next article, I'm very excited. Many of you have a type 1 diabetes family member. We have a very, very close friend of the family that is in Michigan. He has been living with type 1 diabetes for a long time. He's a teenager, getting ready to graduate, and he's wore an insulin pump for many, many years, and he's got to poke himself multiple times a day. I was just devastated when I saw his finger when I was home last time. He hasn't been moving around. He's got to the point where he can poke a certain spot and it doesn't hurt him no more. And that's what he's doing because he can't handle the constant poking. The FDA has approved the world's first automated insulin pump for diabetes. It's called the Medtronic's MiniMed 670G. And again, it's the first of its kind automated delivery system for people over the age of 14 who have type 1 diabetes, and is supposed to make life considerably easier for millions of Americans. So the MiniMed 670 includes a sensor that attaches to the body to measure glucose levels under the skin. So this is an additional, and if any of you have known anyone that's got type 1 diabetes, they have a pump, they have it goes into their skin, and that has to be moved around periodically. The delivery site has to be moved around. But this second piece is the actual piece that'll hook up and it goes under the skin. It measures the blood sugar level. So what this is going to do now is every 5 minutes, it's going to take a blood sugar sample. Because it's doing it under the skin, it doesn't have to draw blood, but it will then dose out whatever insulin they need. Now, they're still going to have to enter their carb input and all this stuff, but no longer poking that damn finger, and it automatically administers insulin. All of you that have anyone that is a type 1 diabetic, this is coming in January, and this thing is going to fly off the shelves. This is very, very, very exciting for type 1 diabetics. And again, been approved by the FDA. This is exciting because what it's really going to do, it's going to prolong life. It's because oftentimes the younger diabetics say, they like testing so much and they let their sugars kind of all over the place. So this is fantastic news. It really, really is. Difficult to wear that pump, I know, but my God, anything that you can have to stop poking the damn finger. to be able to have this done automatically is huge, 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 huge. So I can't wait. Cannot wait to see this being used by people. I really can't. So in diabetes, type 2 is massive in the United States, but type 1 is so devastating. Type 2 diabetics have brought it upon themselves in most cases. Type 1, they've gotten screwed, and just their body, it's just a luck of bad luck, not because of any eating issues or anything. It's just, man. So good news. I'm excited about this. I really, really am. I was excited to see this day come. All right, back to tech. Fuse is another iPhone 7 case that's attempting to bring back the iPhone jack. It'll also include a battery, so they've got a Kickstarter going. $69 is the Kickstarter, and you're basically going to get a case. You're going to get a battery that will help charge your phone, and you're going to be able to charge and listen with the standard jacks. So good news. We'll see how far they get, but they're promising delivery by December. All right, Star Wars, a little trivia for you here. So, how many of you guys know that the Death Star, the trench that was in the Death Star, was basically a prop mistake? So, on a Reddit Ask Me Anything Tuesday, Cantwell was a concept artist and spacecraft designer in the original Star Wars film, and he said, George Lucas gave me the project of designing a Death Star. I didn't originally plan for the Death Star to have a trench, but when I was working on the mold, I noticed the two halves had shrunk at the point where they met across the middle. It would have taken a week of work just to fill and sand and refill this depression. So to save me the labor, I went to George and suggested a trench. He liked the idea so much, it became one of the most iconic moments in the film. So he goes on to talk about the X-Wing fighter resulted from a similar, almost accidental moment inspired by a night out. It had to be ultra cool and different from all other associations with aircraft. He says, in other words, it had to be alien and fit in with the rest of the story. He said, a dart thrown at a target in a British pub gave me the original concept, and we went forward with it from there. So a game of darts came up with the design for the so that's very cool for the X-Wing fighter. So Star Wars fans out there, if you didn't know that already, you do now. Heads up, if you have a D-Link DWR932B LTE router, and this is a little itty-bitty one, you need to stop using that sucker right now. It's allegedly vulnerable to over 20 issues, including backdoor accounts, default credential, leaky credentials, firmware upgrade vulnerabilities, and insecure UPnP. This is bad. Moreover, your hacked router can be easily abused by cyber criminals to launch a massive distributed denial of service attack, as the internet has recently witnessed. So it's got all kind of telnet and SSH backdoors. It's got vulnerable WPS. It's got remote firmware over the air access. It's just not good. So if you have a D-Link DWR-932B LTE router, get it off your production line for your house, and it's a portable one. Okay, so it's not one that you're going to have. It's one that you're going to carry with you. It's probably got some cable, some AT&T or someone like that. So just look at the model, please. All right. 50% of parents knowingly text their teens while their teens are driving. This study reveals this statistic, and they admitted they expect their kids to reply before they reach their destination. 29% of the parents admitted that they expect their kids to reply before they reach their destination. 1,000 parents were surveyed, said they text their teen kids even though their teen is driving. Wow. Wow. A study was conducted in April on behalf of Liberty Mutual Insurance and Students Against Destructive Decisions. Moms and dads, please Don't text your kids when you know they're driving. Make sure they have hands-free in their car. And make sure they know when they're hands-free in the vehicle. You can buy these hands-free kits, so there's no excuse. Make sure they have hands-free in the vehicle. Make sure your kids are synced to them. And when they're driving, if you have to contact them, you call them and let them answer with the hands-free and talk to them. Please don't be texting them where they're looking down and wrecking themselves or someone else or killing themselves. Please, please, please. You know, we've all done it. We've all abused. Every one of us have, and we've all had close calls. There's not a person listening to this show that hasn't. Everyone has had to break hard at least once because they looked at their phone. Right? And most of us are experienced drivers, and we're doing this, and we know we're not supposed to. So if it's happened to us, it's going to happen to our kids, and our kids may not, with not as many years driving experience, may not react in time, and they end up, run into the back of a semi or something. So if this is true, then at least 50%, at least in this survey, parents are doing this. Please, please, please get them hands-free for their vehicle, okay? I require my kids, when they're driving, that their Bluetooth is synced to the car, and that I can call them, and they can answer hands-free. That's the way I do it at my house. I don't try to call them. If I catch them driving, and they're driving, and say, I'm driving, I say, okay, call me back when you get to your location. I don't have an extended conversation with them. Or text me when you get to your location. Bounty for iOS jailbreak exploits jumped to $1.5 million. Wow, they're getting desperate. The value for zero-day exploits targeting iOS software, Zero Dium, D-I-U-M, has got a $1.5 million bounty out there for a zero-day hack to hack the iPhone 7 or iOS 10. More news, Waze carpooling service now available to all users in the San Francisco area. So Google's Waze rider service, which lets people carpool to and from work with drivers using the Waze app, has come out with its pilot program, is now available in the San Francisco area. It's being rolled out to users over the last several weeks. The company confirmed to the Wall Street Journal today Waze riders is different from ride-hailing like Uber and Lyft. It's meant to pair two people heading the same direction. Drivers are only reimbursed for the mileage driven during the carpooled rides. They are not making much profit, if any at all. Riders are charged a maximum rate of 54 cents a mile. Both drivers and riders are limited to 2 rides each day, which again underlines the intended purpose of the app: going to work, going home. So very cool. Ride sharing without really having to be a Lyft driver. Sadly, we all heard about the news in New Jersey about the train that smashed into the Hoboken station, killing one and injuring over 100. At what point are we going to start putting some stuff on trains to make them a little smarter? As much as those things cost, why is there not some sort of computer backup at this point? We've got vehicles driving down the road, for God's sakes. They can, you look at Tesla, and trains cost a lot more than a Tesla does. Why don't we have some automated systems on these things? I'll tell you why. Probably the train union resisting them. But the train driver was released from the hospital. He went home to his wife. Now, I'm not saying the train driver's, what happened there could have been a hardware failure. But they're going to look into this. We'll see what happens. But this has to stop. All right, I lived for 3 years in the Central Valley of California. I lived in Lemoore. Where I first lived, I lived in a trailer for about 6 months when I first got there. And my neighbors on either side were pickers, and we always had fresh produce, and they were fantastic, and they were legal migrant workers. And then when we moved into an apartment complex, it's just dry. But what's going on in Central Valley is very, very scary. There's been so much groundwater pumped out that some areas are starting to sink. Arbuckle, a small town on I-15 in Sacramento Valley, has had 4 to 8 inches of what they're calling subsidence sinking in the past 8 years. Houses are being damaged and condemned. Water lines are being broke. But this is continuing, and houses are having to be jacked up. It's not a pretty sight. What's going on? So I can see home values dropping. So California, you guys aren't out of the woods yet. And if you have a home in Bakersfield or Lemoore or Hanford or anywhere further up the valley, it's pretty scary stuff here for you guys. They're going to have to quit pumping at some point. But I know that's that is the bread. A lot of fruit and produce that you find on your tables across the United States, comes out of the valley. Huge amount. So if they quit pumping water, where are they going to get the produce? Well, it's going to come from Central America. You're not going to get American produce as much. A lot of it is already being imported. But the water situation in California is not getting any better. All right, NASA officials are mulling over the possibility of purchasing Soyuz seats for 2019. That means that they're not 100%, ready to commit completely to Boeing and SpaceX. There's, uncertainty in production, and of course the launch vehicles got some challenges. So, SpaceX has maintained the possibility of a 2017 launch date, but with its recent accident, NASA's definitely going to be digging in pretty deep, making sure that, they're not, these astronauts are not sitting on top of a bomb, which they actually are, but a controlled bomb, right, a controlled explosion. So, anyway, after the presidential election, they may be buying more seats from the Russians. All right, finally tonight, a little bit of stuff from coasttocoastam.com. You want to see some eagles? Well, how about an eagle's nest with Bigfoot below it? I have the link in the show notes for that. Tell me, is it a man or is it someone trying to hoax the webcam? Also in Mexico City, Ghost Girl, talked about her a little bit here on the show, has been revealed to be a hoax. Some beer brewery came up with the video, and definitely was a hoax. So they're getting a little publicity down there. Also, a man claiming to be the reincarnation of King Arthur has filed a lawsuit in England over what he sees as discriminatory parking charges at the famed Stonehenge monument. He says there should not be a parking fee here. So this guy is the supposed reincarnation of King Arthur. He's not happy over parking fees at Stonehenge. Oh my goodness. There's a new study that sheds lights on deathbed visions. A recent study from Japan may strengthen the case for the afterlife, as it found a remarkable number of dying people report having contact with the other side prior to their death. The researcher came up with a survey to family members of people who recently passed away and asked them numerous questions about the experience, seemingly an attempt to improve end-of-life care in the country. Among those injuries was a curious question about the phenomenon of deathbed visions being seen by their family members before they died. In a testament to how these experiences are seen in Japanese culture, they actually have a name. It's called umaki. Incredibly, a whopping 22% of the respondents reported such an occurrence taking place prior to their loved ones passing away. So, interesting. And we had a little bit of experience with Shoko's mom, and some things that she said just prior to her passing. I think sometimes people know. They know this is it. And your brain runs to your loved ones at that moment, I think. But there's been a lot of deathbed experiences where people, died and come back and said they saw somebody or saw a light or whatever. But interesting article out of Japan. And finally, Google Earth has updated pictures of Area 51. Can't see too much, just a bunch of buildings. That's about it. But if you want to look at some buildings in the desert, there are some updated pictures of Area 51. All right, finally tonight. The Logitech C920 has been a mainstay, and I got one right here. I can't pull it because it's hooked up. but it's, if you can see it over here, again, a C920 has been a webcam a lot of people like me have used for live events and so forth. Well, there's a new one out. It's called the C922 ProStream webcam camera. It's got a tripod mount, and this is new. It's available. It's pre-order online. I'm trying to get a demo unit sent over, but it's been a long time since the 920 has been updated, and this is the 922, and it's optimized for streaming and recording. It goes full 1080p at 30 frames per second. I wish it would have went 4K, but it's not. It's got customizable background replacement software, automatic low light correction, which is never that great, and it can capture stereo audio from every angle. Again, it's got a tripod mount as well. Again, available shortly for $99. I have the link up in the show notes. But this has been a long time coming. This is a lot of people are going to be very excited about this. I didn't bring it up in the. Let me bring it up on the screen for those of you that are watching to see. It looks exactly like the 920. Here we go. So this is what it looks like. And link will be up in the show notes, obviously. Okay. So let me go ahead here and let's see what we have for commentary that has come in via email. How are we doing on time? Oh, okay, we're okay. We're just about done. Darren, I got your email. Appreciate it. We'll be talking to you. I got an email from Michelle. I don't know if you heard about this, but it appears that Apple might have plans for an iBag, yes, iBag, based on patent number, and she listed me the patent. I heard about it from Lowering the Bar, a legal humor blog that may also interest you. Michelle says, I enjoy your shows as a listener to the audio. I don't mind your comments to the watchers of the video. Also, I can relate to some of your family/local flavor. I lived in Ohio for about a decade. My mother lives in a rural part of Michigan that's about 20 miles from the closest McDonald's. Where's that? Is she in the UP or around Cadillac or someplace like that? Michelle, thanks for listening, for being part of the Ohana here. I really like it when I hear from the ladies. I like it that the ladies are listening. So we have a good, loyal lady part of the audience. So I try to find stuff for you ladies all the time, but I'm looking at this patent that Apple is seeking for the iBag. I'm like, really? You're going to patent exactly how a bag folds and the strap and everything? It just, come on. I was like looking to make sure this was a joke, but it's not. This is the real deal. So, Michelle, thanks for being Eagle Eye, and yes, thank you for turning on to loweringthebar.net website. I definitely appreciate it, and thank you for being part of the Ohana. Also, I got an email from Keith. He says, hey, Todd, I'm a graphic designer with a Mac Pro late 2013. I've been using an old Cinema 30-inch display and like to replace it with a 32 or larger display. I'm up in the air which monitor would be better for me. Could you recommend a monitor for me out of your own pick? So I'm leaning towards Dell, but I heard Asus is also very good. Any other good monitors above 32? Keith, I'll be honest with you. That 32-inch monitor that I reviewed from Dell, that ultra-sharp 32K HD 4K, it's a UP3216Q. Now it's expensive. It's like $1,800. By far, the most beautiful monitor I've ever seen. Now, my kids have got that monitor in the garage, and they're using it as a gaming monitor. I don't have room for it here in my studio. It gets in the way of the cameras. It's just a little bit too tall. At some point, I'm going to figure out a way to change this table to reclaim that monitor. It is simply incredible. So that's my advice. If you can afford that monitor, that's the way to go. But that sucker costs as much as a 60-inch television set. But I'm here to tell you, it's worth it. It really, really, really is. I've got an email from Sid. He says, hey, Todd, I have an older OS 10 and an older Final Cut FCP, older Final Cut Pro. The two have worked fine for me. The last export to MOV successfully done in March of this year. I finished another show last week, and now when I export the images square, I know I'm using old software in OS 10, but with both being older, the whole thing worked. Okay, something has flipped in the last month. I don't even know if this is the right source to contact. If not, excuse the email. To be honest with you, I don't use Final Cut Pro anymore, Sid. So what I would do is there's profiles in Final Cut Pro. I would go and look at your profile settings to make sure that you're actually you're set up for the right 422 or 442 setting, or and make sure that your base products in HD 1920 by 1080. I don't really understand why the export image would be square. You have to look at that whole chain. But Final Cut should be able to handle your high def video editing. I just don't see how it could cause any problems. Okay, that's going to wrap us. That's all the emails. If you have comments about today's show, geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. You can reach me here via Twitter as well. And I'm just noticing right now, I think I need to tighten the clamp that's holding the mic. I felt it sag a little bit, so I'm looking back there. That won't be good. But everyone, thanks for being here. I'll be back with you on Monday. Don't forget about International Podcast Day, internationalpodcastday.com. If you want to get into podcasting next 30 hours or 24 hours, 22 hours, there's going to be a lot of information, fire hose effect, to get trained up and learn about podcasting. Join me, and I'll be tweeting about it and putting it up on Facebook tomorrow at 8 p.m. Pacific. When I do my session, I'll be talking about social media and building an audience. You guys will get to hear what I do to make more of you listen and watch this show. All right, thank you so much for being here. I definitely appreciate your attendance and hanging out. Those of you on the live stream, thanks for staying up late. We'll see you next time here on the Geek News Center podcast. Everyone, take care. Aloha. YouTube, bye-bye.